Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. My name is Dr. Gleb Sapurski. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. And today with me is Jeff Abbott, the CEO of Ivanti. Jeff, can you tell us a little bit about what Ivanti actually does?
Sure, Gleb. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm very pleased to be here with you. Look, Ivanti is an IT solutions provider, and we are essentially in the space that provides service management solutions, endpoint management solutions, and security solutions to CIOs and CISOs.
Excellent. And how have you seen hybrid work and remote work impact your business?
Well, this is actually what we enable, Gleb. In fact, we fashion ourselves the provider of everywhere work elevated. So when the pandemic hit and employees obviously went to work from home or remotely, that is when our solutions became kind of a premium in the marketplace. And so we put a lot of energy into thought leadership around everywhere work. And I think it's been an absolute phenomenon, maybe the biggest work phenomenon, I'm sure you'd agree with your studies, in the last century in terms of change in the work environment and so on. So we are very much in tune with not only hybrid work, but fully remote work, nomads, digital nomads, as they're known as, and everything in between. I think that this is now the new reality for leaders and organizations around the world.
Definitely, I think it's a new reality as well. And I tell that to my clients. I've helped 23 transition to hybrid work, figuring out the return to office hybrid work transition. But I'm definitely seeing a lot of leaders be really resistant to flexible work, distributed work, everywhere work, whatever terminology you call it. Why do you think leaders are resistant, even though there's clearly technology to support distributed work, remote work? What do you think explains this resistance?
It's a great question, Gleb. I talk to customers all the time about the challenges they face, and my gut is the majority of the resistance is a generational issue. It is, today's leadership, or I should say, at least in recent history, the leadership was very much in tune with people being in the office, you being able to have a conversation with your direct reports and your extended teams, being able to collaborate in person, and feeling like you had control over the direction of the organization, the priorities, the productivity, and so on. So all of a sudden, to turn that off is a very uncomfortable position, and leaders are having to relearn what it is to be a leader in the contemporary work environment. So I think it has everything to do with control, and giving that up is very difficult for a lot of leaders.
And so when we think about technology, how can leaders use technology to facilitate their sense that they can still control and have that ability to see what's going on and make sure that you have the outcomes that are desirable, but without that over-the-shoulder micromanagement and forcing people to come to the office, which obviously causes you to have a lot of attrition, resistance, quiet quitting, disengagement, low morale. So how do you do that?
Good question. I would not pretend to tell you that we have all the answers on this. I think, look, what you're describing is the big question, the question of ensuring productivity, ensuring proper results from your collective organization and outcomes, as you put it, while at the same time not treading too much on the personal integrity of your workforce, right? That is the trick. And I think it's about, again, relearning management models. Obviously there are the tool sets that allow, as we are today, allow for remote interactions. There are now survey tools available to keep in closer, almost weekly, if not daily, touch with your workforce and their productivity and so on. The tool sets with which we use are providing more information about average time of use of each solution on the network and so on. We actually have a product called Digital Experience Platform, which DEX, a new category in the IT solution space, which measures essentially the collective employees' satisfaction with their digital experience, right? Which is an important metric.
Sure.
You and I never would have asked an employer, hey, what's the digital experience like at your company when we were first interviewing for a job? Today's entry-level employees are asking questions about how easy is it to get on and off the network. When I have challenges with my tools or with my hardware, how is it I get answers? So there's a whole new sort of measurement of digital experience that comes into play. So there are tool sets that are catching up with the sentiments of everywhere work to provide leaders and workers a level of comfort that there are the proper tools with which to do their jobs, and managers now have the proper visibility, even remotely, to make sure the work is getting done. But it is, I don't think the book is written yet, honestly, Gleb. And I think, researchers like yourself are kind of cutting the first tread into how do we ensure productivity in the remote environment.
Now, you're looking at a lot at technology. And what are you finding the best folks are doing? What are the best practices that actually facilitate effective hybrid work, flexible work, remote work, versus people maybe who are a little bit on the back foot and who are dragging their feet? What kind of differences are there in the ways that they're using technology?
Well, first of all, I think they're embracing it. I think they're embracing employee choice. That's what I see from best practice organizations. They are leaning into the employees and saying, we've become comfortable that you can do your work remotely. You've obviously become comfortable that that is the way you want to work. And our research has data to support that conclusion, that both the employers and the employees are getting more and more comfortable. But to your point about technology, the way it's being enabled is across a variety of places. Again, in the IT stack, first of all, you have to provide an easy way to get on and off the network, and a safe way to ensure as an employer that as employees are coming on and off the company network, that they're doing so quickly and securely. Things like contemporary VPN, zero trust access, the tool sets provide that onboarding and offboarding the network, and do so for any manner of different pieces of hardware, whether it's a laptop or a phone, even watches. Now people are doing some of their productivity through their digital watches. So that's one. Another, again, is device security itself. So within each of the devices that you use to do your job, it's important that you secure and keep those devices up to date on all the security requirements. Again, with people working from just about anywhere, a coffee shop, the local park, obviously their home office environments, there's a lot to be concerned about in terms of cybersecurity and bad actors trying to expose weaknesses across that employee base. And it's very important that companies that exercise best practice are taking endpoint security extremely seriously, and again, applying proper investment to do so. And then service management, the actual, again, providing the proper digital experience to the users creates confidence, right? If I as an employee believe that my employer is giving me the best possible mechanisms, hardware, access to the network and the tool sets, and at the same time, when I have a challenge, it's a good experience to get the challenge resolved quickly. Now I feel confident that I can be an everywhere employee in this company. And that's what best practice companies are doing. They're kind of engaging the full 360-degree view of remote work and ensuring proper tooling, security, and experience for their employees.
Now, something I often see within companies is that the CSL and the CHRO are really comfortable letting more of their employees work remotely more of the time. Whereas maybe the CEO or the COO, especially people who are of an older generation, but it tends to be also positional. The CSL and the CHRO, I've really seen that people in those roles be quite a bit more comfortable with their workers spending more time remotely. How can they advocate effectively for more flexibility, more trust in their employees against more of the old guard who probably are not quite as comfortable with technology and are not as familiar with all the benefits that it can bring?
Yeah, Gleb, I think you'd agree from your own research that those in the, as you put it, the more C-level roles that are of that kind of old school point of view are learning the hard way. And the reason the heads of human resource or the chief people officers and so on, along with the CISOs, are trying to make CEOs and COOs more comfortable is because of attrition. There's a war for talent in every industry around the world, and if the Great Resignation in the last couple of years taught us anything, it's that you have to lean into the entire experience of your employee base. And some of the leverage that has been with employers has shifted to the individual contributors that have the greatest skills. And those with the greatest skills can sometimes leverage how they want to work as a key ingredient of their loyalty to the company. More directly, The talented people who want to be remote are leaving if they're not allowed to be, right?
Mhm.
So I think at the end of the day, sort of at the point of a bayonet, the CEO is having to adjust, right? You can't afford to lose. I spoke to a CEO last week, quite a successful company that took a hard stance on remote work, and they lost 70% of their workforce over the course
Wow.
of 2 years. Right now,
Oh man.
luckily for them, their technology is outstanding. So there were a lot of people that wanted to come in, but of course that's a cost,
Of
and
course, that's huge.
yeah, and it causes you delays in growth and productivity when you have to retread the entire company. So look, again, no, there's no silver bullet here, but at the end of the day, the reason the HR and the CISO are trying to influence the rest of the C-suite in this direction is because they know that they can do it securely, safely, and if they don't, they're going to lose their best people.
And so when you're observing this, both from your research and your conversations with clients, what do you think is the future of hybrid work and remote work?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So at Ivanti, we've done everywhere work studies for the last 2 years. We just released our latest this month, the 2023 Everywhere Work Report. And some of the key statistics to compare, let me give you these, Gleb. In 2022, 51% of workers reported no negative impact from remote work, right? That number jumped up to 66% in the 23 report. In 2022, 42% of hybrid considered that the most appealing arrangement. Go into the office when I want, be in the home office when I want. That was last year, 42%. That number jumped up to 71% this year. Another interesting stat between last year and this year. In 2022, 9% of those surveyed believe they were passed over for a promotion because of remote work, right? This year, 2023, that number went from 9% down to 2%.
Great.
Which means they understand, no, I wasn't passed over. I'm now getting more comfortable with the work environment and the management model for remote work. So I think those trends would suggest, Gleb, that this is not a 2 or 3 year wave. This is a new permanent condition. And again, companies need to adjust to it.
Excellent. Now, thank you for sharing your expertise. As we finish up, are there any last words with which you wish to leave our audience?
Well, listen, the number one kind of chief concern for me, and one that I think, again, researchers like yourself and others are just now understanding what has to change here, is leadership models for remote work. You cannot continue, as you said, the old guard can't continue to do things the way they've always done. You have to relearn how to recruit. You have to relearn, as you said, on how to evaluate performance remotely, how to coach remotely, and sometimes how to counsel people out of the organization remotely. I mean, we have to wrap our heads around the idea, Gleb, that it may be absolutely a reality that we recruit, build a rapport, and watch employees move on to other things without ever meeting them in person, right? So the trick here is changing the management model in a way that not only do you embrace everywhere work, but as a leadership team, you lean into it as a new leadership challenge and adjust your model. And that, I think, is sort of the next chapter in this whole phenomenon. And at Ivanti, we're embracing it. We absolutely are embracing the idea that it's employee choice that's best, and we get best productivity for it.
Excellent. Well, this was very helpful, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gleb. My pleasure.
And thank you to the audience for checking out another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you checked out the show and leave a review. It really helps us improve the show and helps others discover the show. All right, everyone. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. In the meantime, the wisest and most profitable decisions to you, my friends.